Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of In the Prog Seat. Yes, it's Tuesday night. We've got here in the crew tonight, we've got Chuck Alvarez.
Greetings.
We've got Stephen Reid all the way from the UK. It's just past midnight over by him. We've got George Lamie, and we've got Anthony Ferraro. What's happening, everybody?
Good afternoon, good evening.
That is correct.
Good morning.
Or good morning, say good morning to you. Could be good afternoon somewhere else, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you're watching, we bid you hello. Today is 1975. No, it's actually 2021, but we are going to be talking about our favorite releases from 1975. Let's get this out right now for everybody watching and in the chat. Prog rock releases or fusion releases. All right, so that's what this show is. It's in the Prog seat. So we picked our top 5 favorite prog or fusion albums from 1975. So for folks that are throwing out Bruce Springsteen and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and all that stuff, that's not this show, guys. Prog rock and fusion. So I've asked everybody to put their list together. We've all talked a couple minutes ago about how hard this was because 75 was a great year for music in general, and a great year for prog rock and fusion as well. So a lot of great choices here. We're going to go Chuck, Stephen, George, Anthony, and myself, and we'll keep going round and round until we get to our number 1. So Mr. Alvarez, all the way from the Bronx, New York. What do you got for number 5?
And with a little King Crimson going on there.
There you go. Very cool.
Once again, good evening, guys. My first pick will be an art rock band from the UK. Perhaps one of my favorite albums of all time, at least the top 20 as far as this band goes. My first pick will be the original soundtrack by 10cc.
Ooh,
yes. So that they had a lot of prog rock flair on a few songs here. You could see that they had they were having quite a bit of fun. But once Godley and Cream left that band, they were never the same, man. Although they were still good. But they were pretty much poppy than they were which are art rockish. But it's this album right over here, the original soundtrack from 1975, their third studio album, the original soundtrack.
Probably easily a top 3 album from them, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. Good call. Mr. Reid, what do you got for us?
Yeah, there's a real devil-may-care attitude to 10cc at that stage, isn't there? Which I really like. Yeah, really cool. Right, so my first one, I'm going to go. This is so difficult, isn't it? So I'm going to go for Supertramp.
Oh, excellent.
Crisis, what crisis?
What crisis?
Yeah, I mean, this is 1975, and that title and this cover could come from right now, couldn't it, really? But there you go. The more things change and all of that. So I don't know. I think this is underrated album in their catalogue. I think because it followed Crime of the Century, it maybe gets a little bit less of that sort of notice than anything else. But I just love the quirkiness of this band, and I really like the use of different instrumentation and what they do. And it's a really great atmosphere on this album. Easy Does It, Ain't Nobody But Me. I really like this album. Lady, of course, as well. Probably the biggest song off it. But yeah, that's my first pick, Supertramp.
Great pick. I have it on my larger list. It's a good one. And don't think I haven't noticed you're in a different room again.
Well, no, I've turned slightly from last time is what I've done because it was easier than moving this big chair that I was sitting in.
Gotcha, okay.
I wasn't that.
I was going to say that's like 3 shows in a row. You got a different setting. I'm like, you're putting me out here, man.
I've been
things like that. I notice things like that.
Just wherever I can land, that's where I am.
There we go. Meanwhile, I'm in the same damn seat every time for probably 1,000 videos in a row. That's kind of boring, right? Well, no, I do tape from outside every now and then when the weather's nice.
Oh, I remember you sitting in your recliner doing some Christmas shows too, like you did your end of the year.
Yes, that is true. I haven't done that in a while. Yeah, those were fun.
And you used to do it in another room. You used to do your top. You used to pick an album and pick gems off the album or something. I think you used to do it in another room. I think you did Whitesnake in that room. Off of the self-titled, you picked off the gems of it or something. This is going back a couple of years.
It might have been here, but just sitting over there a little bit because I used
to be different.
But I used to do it in the dining room occasionally, but that's been a while. But I
That
like
might
doing
have
the
been where
outdoor
we did
shoots.
it.
Yeah, I like doing the outdoor shoots every now and then when it's not too warm or not too cold. So we'll see. I might get back to that again.
The reason for my change, Peter, is that through in the other room, that's my rock seat, but this is my prog seat.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, that makes all the sense.
George.
Yeah.
Well done.
I will drink to that. George, what do you got for us?
All right. My number 5. Alphonse.
Oh, I love it.
Mind Transplant.
Mind Transplant by Mr.
Yep,
Muzon.
yep.
His most celebrated album, definitely. It's known kind of as almost a companion piece to Billy Cobham's Spectrum because featured the same guitar player, and it was said that Muzon felt like a challenge when he heard Spectrum to put out an album that intense. And the songwriting's not as deep as that album, but it's more hard driving stuff, punchy. They kind of just have a couple riffs per song. They give you an intro and give you the main riff, and then they solo. But the playing super energetic, and Muzon is right up there with Cobham for an impressive player.
Yeah.
My favorites are probably Carbon Dioxide, Ascorbic Acid, Nitroglycerin. Those are like the real hot tracks. There's one vocal tune that's not great, but not as bad as it could be, not as bad as it sounds. So yeah, I'll go with this one.
Tommy Bolin, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tommy Bolin.
Yeah.
Oh, but Muzon was a beast on that album. Oh, just
Yes.
amazing. I love that album. Nice pick.
All right, Anthony, you're up.
So when Pete had told me the theme would be we're going to do top 5 of 1975, I got pretty ecstatic because everybody knows it's probably it's my all-time favorite year in music. And when he told me to do a top 5, I thought to myself, I have top 4 with no problem, but 5 is going to be on any given day. I could put this in, I could put that in. So, but this has become a favorite since I bought this about 10 or 15 years ago. I'm going with One Size Fits All from 1975. Zappa and the Boys, my favorite incarnation of the Mothers, Chester Thompson, Ruth Underwood,
Tom Fowler.
Napoleon
George Duke.
Murphy Brock, just amazing. Inca Roads with George Duke on vocals. San Bernardino. Another standout track is Florentine Poguet when Murphy Brock sings. My favorite incarnation of the Mothers, absolutely fantastic. Just probably, and it probably lauded as maybe Zappa's best studio album, most popular, because he's got so many. His live archives is just mammoth. But I'm going with One Size Fits All from 1975 by Zappa and the Mothers.
Arguably his greatest band ever.
Yeah.
And arguably one of the greatest bands of all time.
Talking
about pure musical virtuosity.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to top that band, right?
Amazing band.
Yeah. Speaking about a bunch of virtuosos, this isn't even my favorite album by this band, but there's no way I could leave it out of this top 5 because it's an amazing album from 1975. No Mystery by Return to Forever. Gotta have it. Have it. Just Stanley Clarke, Lenny White, Chick Corea, Al Di Meola. What an amazing band. Jungle Waterfall, Flight of the Newborn, Sophista Funk, No Mystery, the title track, excerpt from the first movement of Heavy Metal, Celebration Suite. Just gorgeous, gorgeous jazz fusion. Some people call it prog as well. It's kind of a little bit of both. Just unbelievable stuff. They have better albums, but this is really, really
it's
great.
Still a great album.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my number 5. Back to you, Chuck.
Oh man. All right, well, my number 4 is another art rocker, perhaps one of the most influential musicians and producers of all time. I'm talking about Brian Eno. Another Green World.
That's a great one.
Most of these tracks, Brand X is playing on it.
Yes.
On a lot of the songs. Brian Eno, if I'm not mistaken, that's his 3rd studio album. Yeah, I think that's his 3rd studio album, man. He just kills it, man. Just a great album from beginning to end, man. right there. Another Green World from Brian Eno, 1975.
So you got Percy Jones, Phil Collins, and then Fripp plays on a track, St. Elmo's Fire, which is unreal.
Oh, beautiful. Love that solo. Oh, that solo.
Very cool. All right, Stephen, back to you.
So in 75, I think Prog was so many different things. So my number 4 is, if we can see that, Klaus Schulze, Time Wind.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
There's some absolutely phenomenal keyboard synth albums around this time. It's the theme of kind of where my head went with this. But I just love the atmosphere on this album. It's expansive, it's involving, but it's still quite tight. But you can put it on and just lose yourself in this album. I just think it's an absolutely phenomenal piece, and it's quite timeless. You play it now, this doesn't sound from like it came from 75. It could have come from last week. It's just a phenomenal album. And I go back to it a lot, I have to say. Really good. Yeah, so that's my number 4, Klaus Schulze.
Between Claus and Tangerine Dream, you have music that's just plain timeless. Unlike their peers, you can listen to them and you get kind of pissed off by them. I know that good buddy Peter doesn't like Can, but these guys, they're a bit more easy listening, and so, but he's still quite intense, and that's a pretty good album by Claus.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And the cover's badass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great cover.
I mean, that is badass.
Yeah.
That doesn't scream Prog. I don't know what does.
Yeah, so and it's a great set as well. This one, the reissue, really cool.
There's a lot of really good electronic music right around that time period.
Yeah.
Klaus Schulze and Tangerine Dream. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I gotta say, Chuck, that new like double live Can CD that Anthony sent me is great.
Oh,
Again, I like that band without the vocals.
Yeah, I know.
As soon as they start yapping, I'm like, oh,
time to go.
Because musically, they're terrific,
That's a great pick, Stephen. I didn't think anybody was. I totally forgot about that one, but that is a killer. I haven't listened to that in a while, but great pick.
Yep.
Yeah, I pull that album out quite regularly, and it was just one where I wasn't 100% certain on the year, but I was quite excited at the prospect. I knew it was around then, and it was one of the first things I went looking for to make sure it was the right year. Because it's stuck with me over the years. Really like it.
Cool. All right, George, back to you.
Right.
Oh yes.
Mask.
Mask.
One of these 3-on-1s from Mr. Bezos. $6 for 3 albums.
That's why he's going to space.
The first album, Mask and Monolith. 1, 3, and 6. And okay.
I don't get it.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Mask, probably the ones that didn't sell as well. I don't know.
But it's a great album.
Yeah, obviously Icarus. Everybody loves Icarus, but I love The Pinnacle. And
my favorite song by Kansas.
Yeah, Pinnacle's great.
It's always loved it too. If not for the first couple songs where they still have those last vestiges of like the boogie kind of feel, I think maybe this could be up there with the 2 follow-ups, but still a great album.
Child of Innocence, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All the World.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mask is one of the most underrated albums from like the first, 6 or so. It's the one that I think that most people talk about the least, but it may not. I don't know. It's right up there with all the other ones, I think. But if there's no like real standout track, well, there's standout tracks to hardcore fans, but I think that album is just very underrated, I think, because there was no, they didn't play a ton of it live and no obvious radio hit from it, but yeah, quite good. And they released 2 albums that year.
Yeah.
As we may get to in a little bit. So Anthony.
No, the couple, I saw Kansas 3 times and 2 of them, they played Icarus, which was pretty
that's
awesome.
like the one song they've generally played for the most part, but there's other songs I would love to hear on that album.
Oh yeah,
The Mystery and Mayhem.
that's another killer tune too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
All right, my number 4. Of course, we're 1975. His first solo album, Steve Hillage, Fish Rising, bringing on Dave Stewart on the keys. Very cosmic, very ethereal, very just spacey. Hillage has a tone like no other. I think I've said before. The standout tracks is Solar Music Suite, Afterglid, the Salmon Song, just all killer, no filler, and his guitar tone is just absolutely just cosmic and spacey, and it's just amazing to me. And he went after he left Gong, went right to soul work. And that's where kind of his career kind of took off, because the following year, Todd Rundgren produced his record, and he was opening up for ELO and MSG and big arenas, and that would have never happened. So I'm going with 1975's Fish Rising from Steve Hillage.
Excellent pick. Mm-hmm.
Incredible guitar player and some great solos on that album.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, special player. All right, my number 4 from Canada. Rush, Caress,
Oh yeah,
Steel.
great record.
Gotta have it. I gotta say, this is one of the Rush albums that I always liked, but in more recent times, I'm talking about like the last 20 years or so, this has steadily crept up on my favorites list from these guys. And I know back when this was released, most people shit on this album, and the critics hated it. The general public didn't really buy many copies of it. And but I think more Rush fans have really grown quite fond of this over the years. I mean, and this really is I know we had a little bit of it on Fly By Night, and that also was released in 1975. But man, this is to me is the beginning of their real proggy period. I mean, the Fountain of Lamneth and the Necromancer.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, if that isn't the early seeds of progressive metal right there, I don't know. Lakeside Park, Bastille Day. I think I'm going bald, kind of a silly song, but man, I could listen to the Necromancer all day long, every day.
Same here.
And I just think this is a great, heavy, really proggy album. And I think the band is really starting to figure out exactly what they want to do. And it's a shame, like the band themselves kind of like, you look back on this album and they're like, that's kind of, but to me, the stock is rising very quickly on Caress of Steel.
Now, on their farewell tour, they did play Lakeside Park. I mean, Getty couldn't hit it, but it was cool that they played it.
Yeah.
And I remember in the first Beyond the Lighted stage where Alex Lifeson was telling the story where he actually played Caress of Steel for Paul Stanley. And Paul Stanley was like, what is this garbage? I thought to myself, whatever, dude.
I know, right? Screw off.
Because you gotta imagine, Pete, as the years went by, Caress of Steel and Fly By Night, and even the first one started to sell better.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But back in because it's funny because we've talked about this on a couple other shows. It's like, basically after this album, the record company was like, all right, guys, nobody's buying your records. They're not playing it on the radio. You need to pump out something that's going to get us some sales. Otherwise, we're going to dump you. And they were like, all right, what are we going to do? Well, what do? They go basically put out 2112. It's exactly like this. No hits on that either. And everybody buys it. Go figure. So why were people sleeping during this one? Which to me, there are days that I like this better than 2112.
Same here.
Yep.
So go figure.
I mean, the Necromancer on your headphones. Oh my God.
Dun, dun, dun,
And then the narration by Neil is just like, it's so creepy.
Oh yeah, it's such a great album. Such a great album. So, all right, Chuck, back to you.
All right. This one is a band that actually opened up for Rush a couple of times during 75 and 76. Their debut album, Crack the Sky, the eponymous name, Crack the Sky. For people that don't know anything about Crack the Sky, they're some parts Beatles, some parts Steely Dan. They're like the early Steely Dan. Some parts Guess Who, and a lot of parts Yes. That's the way I always figured them. Great band. I heard a lot of stories and read a lot of stories about how good they were live. I happened to see them live 2 years ago, and they were awesome. Just one of my favorite bands. So hopefully I'll get to see them sometime soon again. Crack the Sky, their debut album from 1975. Crack the Sky.
Chuck, the only album I have by them is that live album that they did, like in the 79 or 80, something like that.
78.
Yeah. You know what when I listen to that, what I hear a little bit of too? I hear a lot of your references that you talk about. I hear a little bit of Max Webster too.
Yeah. Very
Maybe
similar.
Just the quirkiness of the arrangements, I guess. I don't know.
Very similar.
Yeah. Cool pick. Very good. All right, Stephen Reid, back to you, my friend.
Well, we've had Mask, so
Oh.
America. There you go. This is, do you know, it's a toss-up between the two because they're both absolutely phenomenal. I went for Song for America just on the strength of side one. I just think that the way this album kicks in down the road is just, that's a band on fire, isn't it? Do you know?
Robbie will be missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And his performance on that song alone, never mind everything else, is out of this world, isn't it? But the way that everyone clicks together on it is just, outstanding. And then the title track is phenomenal. And it's in my head and has been all day when I was thinking about doing this. It's just a great piece of music, a great groove to it. And then you've got Lamplight Symphony. I mean, and the whole album is great. But side one, I could just keep putting the needle back and starting again and starting again. It's just so good. And something, as I was having a nosy at this the other day, I mean, it's a nice inlay and everything. There's not many albums that actually tell you how long the spaces are between the songs. And this album actually tells you how long the spaces are between the songs. It's a little bit of a curio of some sort. I don't know if you can see that at all.
Oh,
I mean, I can tell you that like there's, you know, like 21 seconds between Lonely Street and The Devil Game. And you're like, why do I need to know that? Why do I need to know that? Why does anyone need to know that? I think what they're doing is they're duping us. This album is only about 12 minutes long, but the spaces make it seem like it's 41 minutes. No, it's not.
Hey, you know, everybody talks about Song for America as the title track, but that ending track, in computer, into the app, man. Oh,
yeah. That's
Great
a proper
song,
epic to end an album, isn't it?
You know, it needs to be said, we talked about on the Hudson Valley Squares last night, we were talking about hard rock debuts, and we talked about Boston and Van Halen, about these bands that just like totally killed it, busting it right out of the gate. Come on, those first two Kansas albums, first three albums, first four albums, first five albums.
First 5, 6.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's not a weak anything on any of those albums, right?
And I think as well, from because I watched that show today, as you made the point about certain bands that just came out and that was their sound. That was it. There's Kansas. That was their sound. Who else sounded like that?
None.
That was Kansas. What a statement those first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 albums are.
Yeah.
Do you know? And nobody's really sounded like them since. Others have tried, but there's just such a idiosyncrasy to what they do that it is really difficult to copy it and do well. But yeah, phenomenal band, and I love that album. But favorite albums by them could change every day, couldn't it? Really?
Yeah, true. I mean, they were the first, when you really think about it, they were the first
American
prog band. So
band.
You had all these British bands and these Italian bands, all these European bands, and then here comes Kansas. And while they listened to all of those, they still sounded like themselves, right?
Yeah. I think there's a very distinct Americanism to them. A British band couldn't do what Kansas did. No way. Absolutely no way. The English prog, and I love it. You all know I love it. It's maybe more twee in a way. The Kansas sound was really expansive, really out there. You could groove to it in a way that you couldn't to most UK prog bands. Lots of people will comment that you can below, and I'm sure they're right. But to me, there's just more flow to it. It's not more natural, but it's more natural.
Yeah.
Plus, I think Steve Walsh never got the credit as a keyboard player, man. Some of his synth passages are just tasty as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chuck, I was reading a long time ago about Kerry Livgren before. What was the band before Kansas where they were? Protocol. They were huge fans of the song Musical Box.
And you can hear it in their sound. You know, I always like to think of Kansas as their own, but you still hear their influences in there. But just like what Stephen was just saying, they tend to boogie pretty much like a Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Allman Brothers, because these were the peers at the time. But they were totally different, man. People that saw them during the early 70s, the early to mid 70s, they said that they always put on great shows. Just imagine people who saw them opening up for Queen back in the mid 70s that said that Kansas just blew them away. No, not they didn't blow Queen away. Queen was an awesome band, but I'm talking about they blew
The
the
audience
spectators would. Yep.
And the production on those early albums is just awesome.
Yeah, it really stands up, doesn't it?
Especially what's it? Left Overture sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Stephen Wilson, don't touch. I kid.
George.
But I think production-wise, I think they sound fantastic. So he wouldn't need to toy with any of that stuff. Now, if they want to give us a live record in a box set, I'm game.
Oh yeah.
Aren't you surprised hardly anyone does Kansas covers? You think?
Well, Dream Theater has, and you could hear the influence on them as well. I know that Dream Theater, a lot of groups tend to cover "Carry On My Wayward Son," or like religious folk would usually play "Dust in the Wind." But there's so many great songs from Kansas that I would wish that. No, but actually, I wouldn't want to hear someone butcher some of my favorite songs by them.
All right, George, back to you.
All right. Number 3 is from Italy. Self-titled debut from Etna.
Nice.
Awesome.
One and
I don't know this at all.
Was that?
I don't know this one at all.
Unfortunately, a one and done. They're built out of the ashes of a previous prog rock band. I think they were called Flea on the Honey, something like that. That didn't work out, so they all went and made this band. It's a bridge between prog and fusion. I'd say it's more fusion. It's a standard quartet, guitar, bass, drums, keys. No, it's more very song based. No long jams, and it's not based on virtuosity. It's very song based. No bad songs on this record. It's one you'll be able to sit down and just listen through. CDs are very hard to come by at this point, so good luck on that end. But yeah, Etna.
No softies on that one, right, George?
No.
And George and I didn't discuss this ahead of time, but for all of you watching, stay tuned tomorrow morning on Forgotten Favorites. Anthony, back to you.
All right. My number 3 comes from a band from the UK. Everybody knows this.
Beautiful.
Wish You Were Here. This is the 2-disc where they have a couple tracks from Live at Wembley. Been listening to I first bought it on cassette probably in 1988-ish. It's 2 long epics with 3 tracks sandwiched in between, all about Sid. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, the haunting melody of Richard Wright. I mean, I remember listening to this recently and thinking to myself, Wright is all over this record. I mean, he is just a genius. He's ethereal. He's a very underrated musician, kind of the quiet musician of the band. You got Have a Cigar with Roy Harper. You have, the infamous Wish You Were Here song, the acoustic track with David Gilmour. But 1975, Wish You Were Here. This is how you follow up probably one of the biggest selling albums ever with something pretty close to it. Just fantastic.
Beautiful.
There you go. All right, my number 3. Kansas, Song for America. I mean, yeah, everything Steven said, and we all have already said, this is a great, great album. You have this and Mask in the same year. I was like, but I think I prefer this one just a little bit, not much. But yeah, the guys in their overalls and boots, and could you imagine like going to see Kansas back in 1975, and they come up on stage, look like a bunch of farmers, and then all of a sudden, there you go. I mean, and then this melodic, totally complex music comes out, and you're like, holy cow, these cats can play. Yeah, The Devil Game, Incomudro, Lamplight Symphony, title track, Down the Road, great stuff. Great album, great band. That's my number 3. So,
excellent.
Back to Chuck.
All right. Well, these two, I kind of think that you guys probably know where I'm going with these two over here. This is the probably one of my favorite, but once again, from Gentle Giant that just released this album. I think Steve Wilson just remastered it. Gentle Giant's Freehand. Once again, one of these albums, probably their last great album. It's not that long either. This album's less than, I think, 36 minutes. But in 36 minutes, they sure tell a big story over here. These guys, man, what's that? When you listen to Gentle Giant, there's just one of these bands that just transcend time, man. And that's What's a Free Hand is their last great album. That's my number 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say Interview is very good.
Mm-hmm. It's good, but
Free Hand is great.
It's great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Free Hand.
Great choice.
So my number 2, I'm back on the keyboards here. So my number 2, I brought through the new one, the newest version. Here we go.
Heaven and Hell, man, jealous.
Heaven and Hell, Vangelis. And I'm sure that somebody will go, it's not Prog. So I just had to dig out this one. Okay? Because, tell me this isn't Prog.
That cover is Prog.
Tell me this is not Prog. He's here. He's gone. Right. I mean,
if they're playing more than 10 keyboards, it's got to be Prog.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a cape involved. Okay. I mean, what more do I need to say? I love this album. This is another one. And I know you ridiculed me last time. I still came back. You ridiculed me last time. This was another walking home in the dark and listening to this album. That's what this was. Headphones on the Walkman. And listen to this as The World Was Dead and was blaring away, making no sense and all the sense all at the same time. And bear with me here, okay? I think this is almost a synthesizer bitches brew. This is a crazy album. I think there's an amount of this that he was making up on the hoof. It really is. You listen to some of it and there's little bits of it, I think, I'm not convinced he's in time here. There's little, does it go off? You think, nah. But man, oh man, is he in the zone? And it's just phenomenal. And I've played this a lot in the last few days, and it still hits me really, really hard. And you've also got John Anderson on it. So vocals on So Long Ago, So Clear, and you can't go wrong with a bit of John Anderson. But this is maybe my favourite Vangelis album, Heaven and Hell. Really love this. Albedo 0.39, which was the year after, I think. That or this, and I know he did some really, really famous stuff. Actually, you can hear across bits of this album, bits of Chariots of Fire. There are little motifs in there that you think, you ripped yourself off and had the biggest thing you ever did. That's not a bad trick to do, but yeah, I really like that album, as you can tell.
No, it's not from 1975, Steve, but I really like Spiral.
Yeah, that is a good album, I have to say. Yeah, that is a good album. I mean, there's lots of good albums. I mean, the Blade Runner soundtrack as well. But I try and narrow down some of his stuff into studio albums and soundtracks, because otherwise I could fill the room with these albums.
Yeah,
and endless stuff.
Crazy, but yeah, absolutely. And some of it isn't very good. I'm just putting that out there. Not all of them are great. But this is great.
That's a great album.
Yeah.
Quantity is not always quality, right? So
absolutely.
Just ask Rick Wakeman. What's he got, like 80 albums at this point? Whew, man. All right, Chuck. Dazzle us here. What do you got?
All right.
Wait, George is up.
It's George. Yes.
Well,
I got a case of
I
the
meant
old.
to say George. Sorry, it's late.
Come on, George.
I meant to say George. Sorry. Chuck, you dazzle us too.
I'm sorry, man.
Go again, Chuck. Number 2, Pete already said.
Beautiful.
Return to Forever. Like you said, it's not my favorite of theirs. Actually, probably my least favorite of the quartet records. But between that and the fragile feel that I get with it, with all the little interludes in between the longer set pieces, I probably thought less of it than it really is. And when I'm listening to the records for this list to make sure how I wanted to order them, I was like, this is one of those cases where the 3 or 4 best songs just bring the whole thing up. I mean,
oh yeah,
nothing wrong with the small pieces, but just gives that feel like Fragile. It's like, I'm not very fond of that, but I mean, across the board, but especially Celebration Suite, and No Mystery and Day Ride. I mean, wow, it's incredible stuff. And also features the first ever composition from Mr. DiMeola. Not the greatest song he ever wrote, but it's a good tune.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely go No Mystery.
I would say No Mystery is probably from this band, what, about an A-, George?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right? Still damn good. Still damn good.
really good.
All right, Anthony.
Number 2, which I've talked about on the previous show before, Fish Out of Water. I mean, just it's a magical record when you got Chris Squire, Pat Mraz, Bill Bruford. I mean, every song on here is just, there's just a magic to it. Silently Falling is just pure, just bliss. Lucky 7 is another one. Just fantastic. I remember a buddy of mine in college recorded me on cassette. One side was Fish Out of Water, the other side was Beginnings. And of course, this is the one I always listen to, because as much as I love Hal on guitar, he should never sing ever. So 1975, Fish Out of Water, pure bliss.
That's like a lost Yes album.
I wish he did more. I mean,
I think that album, as the decades have gone by, and especially since we lost him, has gotten more and more love from the prog community as time has gone on. And I think more people realize just how great it is. And you're absolutely right that it's almost like a long lost Yes album, and arguably better than a couple of Yes albums from
Definitely
at that time frame, right? Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All right, my number 2. Da-dum. The Minstrel in the Gallery.
That the title track.
Look down upon the smiling faces. This is a bona fide classic.
Yep.
I love Tull in the 70s. I love this album more and more as every year goes by. And whereas this it was always probably a top 5 or 6 Tull album for me, now it's probably easily a top 3. And it's knocking on Benefit's door for number 1 spot. I just love it. I mean, it's heavy, it's proggy, it's got its little folky bits, it's epic. You know, the title track is amazing. Martin Barr's amazing guitar playing. Cold Winter Valhalla is just so intense. Baker Street Muse is the big epic to finish it all off. And in the middle, you got One White Duck, Requiem, and Black Satin Dancer, which is absolutely gorgeous. Ian sounds amazing on here. There's a lot of good interplay between the acoustic and electric guitar. Lots of flutes, lots of Hammond organ and synths and what have you. Amazing, amazing album. Tull at the height of their powers here.
That lineup, man. Just killer lineup.
That solo and Martin's solo and Minstrel in the Gallery is just so epic.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
No,
Martin Barr. It's just
People
he's one of these
talk-
guys that doesn't seem to crop up in the conversations about, you know, guitarists and how important they were to bands in that era. And he's just phenomenal, isn't he?
Yeah, he is one of the most underrated players ever.
Definitely.
Really missed from this band. So really missed.
Yep.
And I apologize for the bad singing, but that album just makes me all giddy. So I was feeling festive, you know. So I got to sing for all my fans every now and then, right? Otherwise, people are like, Pete, when are you going to sing?
For
again?
some reason, when somebody mentions Jethro Tull, I feel like I need to drink a stout or something, because it's just so everything about them is just so English.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Got to drink a Samuel Smith or something like that, right? Yep. All right, Chuck. Now it's your turn.
Oh man! All
You gotta
right,
write
well,
that down.
well, my number one, you know, for anyone that knows me, and so my number one obviously is going to be Van de Graaff Generator, God Bluff. You know, this is one of my top. You know, I would say that this is, as far as the prog world goes, it's one of my top 3 albums of all time. Love this album. All 4 songs, you know, in one song they could go from sweet to intense, and there is there's no let up in this album. 4 great songs, and The Undercover Man, Scorched Earth, Arrow, and the epic The Sleepwalkers. Just amazing, man. You know, Van de Graaff Generator, God Bluff.
Chuck, what do you say? God Bluff versus Still Life? Which one do you lean towards?
God Bluff, 100%. And I love Still Life.
Yeah, Still Life is great, right? Tough.
Yep, it really is.
All right, Stephen, number one, what do you got?
My number one is, and it's been mentioned already, it's Gentle Giant.
Freehand.
There you go, Freehand. With a quite phenomenal remix by a certain guy. I think he's called Stephen Wilson.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty amazing.
He's done a real job on this one, I have to say. I've listened to this a huge amount in recent times. It doesn't quite have the cachet that some of the boxes and everything that are coming out just now do, you know, with the fancy liner notes and the documentaries. A documentary on one of the reissues would be lovely, by the way, if somebody's listening. You know, but it's great. The Blu-ray is outstanding on this, with the visuals, and I think there's about 8 different mixes, 7 different mixes, and there's genuine differences between them, and they've made the effort to make the visuals different but the same for all of the different mixes. So you listen to the new mix, and it's really kind of day glowing in your face what you're watching, and then you listen to the instrumental mix, and it's sepia colours. You listen to the original mix, and everything's black and white, and all the visuals are different but similar. It's really clever. There's a lot of thought has gone into this, but more importantly, it's a fantastic album. Now, not the most ringing endorsement, but my daughter came through at the weekend when I was listening to it for, I think, the 6th time in a row, because I was just going through the mixes and trying to compare and contrast and see what I could hear and what I couldn't, because what else do you do with your Saturday? And she went, Dad, there's a lot happening in that, isn't there? Well, yes.
the title track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was On Reflection that was maybe on at the time. But the arrangements on this album are incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's one of those times where there's a lot, it's a modern thing to add a bonus disc that's just an instrumental album. Some of them are cool. I tend not to listen to them very often. But the instrumental version of this was quite a revelation, because the vocals are so important. They're not on everything, and they're not constant through the album, but the arrangements and the layerings and the textures change the songs completely, strip them away, and you've got a different album, and it's still fantastic. So yeah, this is Freehand by Gentle Giant, and I love it. And I must admit, and there is a review written, it's just not up on the site yet, this comes really, really highly recommended, the new version with the Blu-ray. If you can get the Blu-ray, really good. That's my number one.
There you go.
Beautiful.
All right, George.
Come on, George.
Talked about this one on the show before, specifically the Alan Holdsworth show.
Yep.
Oh,
Tony Williams, Believe It. His best record, I think, by far.
Yep.
Seminal fusion record of the 70s, well acknowledged by everybody. Just classics across the board, especially Fred and Protocol. Yeah, Mr. Spock, Red
Snake
Alert.
Oil.
All this stuff, like every song on this album has been covered by somebody, it seems like. Some of them numerous times each. I mean, just great performances by all 4 guys in the band. There's no flaws on the record, basically. And if you like fusion at all, you absolutely have to have it.
Highly agree with that. Yep. Good
That's
stuff.
an absolute classic.
Yep. All right, Anthony, the moment of truth.
the moment of truth. Everybody knows I'm the biggest geek of them all. Voyage of the Alkalite. I mean, coming from my all-time favorite guitar player. I've been in love with this. I have the LP. I have 2 different kind of CDs. I have it on cassette. I'm still looking for the 8-track to fill my collection. But some people say it's a lost Genesis record, maybe. But Steve's fusion and his tone on this album, and he gets Phil sings Star of Sirius, which is absolutely beautiful. The epic Shadow of Hierophant was actually was from the Foxtrot sections, and I remember him. There was a conversation between he and Mike. Said, "Hey, I'm going to pull this for the record. Can I do that?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And of course, only one member from this band has never guested on a Genesis Souls record, and it's a keyboard player, and that says a lot. But Voyage of the Acolyte, 1975, pure bliss. My all-time favorite guitar player. The tone is beautiful. It's ethereal. It's amazing. Steve Hackett.
A great debut, man.
Yep, it is. All right. My number one. All around, all around, all around, all around.
Three free hands.
We got Pete karaoke
before you,
tonight.
Peter.
Pete Okie tonight, yes. You know, this is an absolutely amazing album, even before the Steven Wilson remix. It's usually, and I've said this before, but it's generally speaking, when I meet someone and I talk to them about Gentle Giant and they've never heard Gentle Giant before, this is, for me, the album to send them off on their journey with, I think.
I agree.
Right, because even though it's just as complex and crazy musically as all their earlier stuff, there is, and I just talked to Derek Shulman about this here on the channel a couple weeks ago, there is an air of commerciality on this album. It's kind of hidden, but it's like, even though it's such a complex album and it's so out there, it's still easy and fun to listen to.
It's not that long either.
No, it's not. But you know, most of their albums, Chuck, aren't that long.
No,
I don't think they have any album that's over 40 minutes long.
No, I don't think they have anything over 38 minutes.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right, because they were never big on the epic songs or anything like that.
Thank goodness.
But man, you know, Just the Same is kind of jazzy, kind of poppy, but it's so intricrit.
You just snap your fingers.
Yeah, exactly, right. Everybody, see what I am. On Reflection is one of the most amazing things you'll ever
Love
hear,
it.
ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, Steven,
And the Wilson mix just like magnified it, like
everything. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I love Steven's story about his daughter, like saying, you know, that is really busy. And I remember once I was listening to Reflection, my wife comes walking and she goes, "What the hell are you listening to?" I'm like, Freehand, Time to Kill, His Last Voice, Taliban, Mobile is so fun. Although I like the way Derek says it better, Mobile. Mobile. That's us Americans don't know how to say things the right way. Mobile. That's a good song. But yeah, just great. And I will echo one of Steven's points. Well, a couple of them actually. The Blu-ray on here is absolutely amazing. So if you put it on your home theater system, my God, are you in for a treat? However, the packaging on this just sucks. There's no like booklet. It's just, I mean, come on, guys. You know, I mean, there is a booklet which has nothing in it. It's like, you know, this is so, you know, but otherwise, I would have loved one of those King Crimson packages with this. You know, like the Wilson remixes. I mean, those are gorgeous. The Emerson, Lake and Palmer ones. This is kind of lacking. However, it all comes down to the music, and I think it's just amazing. It's a great album, and it's my favorite prog album from 1975.
It's an interesting thing with that one as well, Peter. What strikes me listening to it an awful lot in recent times is it really doesn't sound like it comes from 1975.
Right.
It's way ahead of its time with its sounds and the keyboard sounds and the samples of whatever it would be back then. I would say it sounds like a 70s album recorded in the 80s with the way that it sounds. It's completely out of step with nearly everything else that was released that we've spoken about. Do you know, it just doesn't seem to fit. How they never made it big with some of that, I don't know, because it is accessible, do you know?
Yeah,
but it's complex.
Yeah.
You know what saddens me about that is learning that they don't have the masters to my favorite of them all, which is
In a Glass House.
In a Glass House, yes.
Yeah.
They don't have the masters to that. They actually lost them. I don't know whether or not. Well, it probably might have been destroyed in the fire.
Yeah.
2008.
Or they could be in Tony Iommi's garage where the Born Again masters were.
Good old Tone, right? Yep. Well, could you just imagine like Steven Wilson just dropping his pixie dust on In a Glass House?
Oh man, and that's an album as great as that, but that album needs it. You know, it's a great album, but it really needs the remastering.
The thing that struck me, I mean, everyone knows that I'm a bit of an acolyte when it comes to Steven Wilson. No apologies. Some of his remastering is brilliant. Some of it isn't, it has to be said. But he seems to understand this. He really seems to get inside it, you know. And it's one of those remixes and remasters where you think, I'm hearing things I've never heard before, but it's still the album I know.
Yeah.
And that's the bit I like about it, because some of the remastering and remixing that's going on now, you listen to songs and you think, I don't remember that sounding like that. And that's cool, but it's not. I very quickly put it away and go and get the album that I know out again and put it on and think, I don't really need it to sound all sparkling if it's not the songs that I recognise. But I still recognise this album.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite clever.
Yep. Well said. Well said. All right. You guys want to rattle off a couple quick honorable mentions? Chuck, what do you got?
All right. Well, I have Agatha, Miles Davis, 1975. I have Parliament's Mothership Connection.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I have Steely Dan's Pretzelazi. And then I also have Caress of Steel, from Rush. I also forgot to put I thought I printed it out. Weather Report's Tail Spinning.
I was just gonna say, I was waiting for you to bring that up all night.
It's just funny because I had this all printed out for quite some time. And then as soon as I sat here, I said, oh shit, I forgot Tail Spinning. But those are my honorable mentions right here.
There you go. All right, Stephen, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, most of mine have been picked out already. Wish You Were Here, Minstrel in the Gallery, Caress of Steel, I had them. I also had Omadon by Mike Oldfield.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I really like it. It's a great synth era, isn't it? It just really is. It's just so many instrumental albums or the odd vocal here and there. I just really fall for that sort of stuff. Are they prog? Are they not? Uriah Heep, Return to Fantasy. I really like that album. It's maybe not their most celebrated. It's maybe not their most proggy either, to be fair. And I couldn't not give Mr. Wakeman some sort of mention. With
Merlin the Magician.
The Night to the Round Table and all of those sort of things. And this is, well, it's not my original copy because I was 2 in 75, but this is an original copy that's now absolutely falling to pieces, you know. Somebody loved this as much as I have since I bought it as well. So yeah, that very nearly made my 5, but with the amount of keyboards I had, it didn't quite stack up to the other ones. Not quite.
Not quite.
So there you go.
Even Merlin the Magician is just epic.
Yep.
Isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a struggle not to put it in the 5, but it didn't make it. Sorry, Rick.
Can't fit them all, right? That's what I was saying.
Well, there's only one cape can fit in, and Vangelis was wearing it. So
there you go. There you go. George, how about you?
Yeah, I would say the self-titled release from Cornette would be up there for me.
Oh, and I like that album.
Yeah, it's a really good album. The self-titled Electromagnets album, the fusion band out of Texas with Eric Johnson on guitar.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Really good record. And I don't know if the Prog Police would pass it, but ELO Face the Music.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Really good.
Top 3.
And I would second the Gentle Giant too. It's really good.
Cool. Anthony?
This is the only one I have props for, but my favorite Kansas album, Mask. As they said, the pinnacle is unreal and all the world and sweet child of innocence.
All right, we got the singing out. Yeah.
And, okay, guys, get ready to drink. 1975, Roxy Music, Country Life with the greatest violin solo ever by Eddie Jobson.
Wow, he got it in at the final 2 minutes of the show.
Didn't pull a Charles.
I was going to say, if we didn't hear from the student, we'd have to put him on a milk carton. Man.
and another good one, Pete, is Renaissance Scheherazade and Other Stories.
Yes, beautiful.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. I forgot that. Really good choice.
All right, I'll just blow through a couple here. Speaking of blowing, Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow.
Oh yeah.
The first self-titled Journey album.
That is good.
Right. The first Ambrosia album.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
I'm amazed George didn't mention this one, but Mahavishnu Orchestra Visions of the Emerald Beyond.
Oh yeah, that's really underrated.
Nobody mentioned Camel the Snow Goose.
Oh
yeah, I was thinking about that one.
Oh man,
it's not Mirage.
No, it's not. But yeah,
no, it's still a great album.
Hawkwind, Warrior on the Edge of Time.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Zappa, One Size Fits All, and I also had Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. I got a ton of others: Hatfield and North, Hillage, Bebop Deluxe, Renaissance, Man for Man, Supertramp, ELO, Vandergraaf, Stanley Clark, Soft Machine, Steve Hackett, Chris Squire, Chicago 3, all on my list. But we don't, there's so many great ones from this year. So
yeah, that Man for Man's Nightingales and Bombers is killer.
Yeah,
Intense.
really good.
Quite intense.
Where they do that Bruce Springsteen cover, Father, or what was that called? Help me.
Spirits in the Night.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Two really good Springsteen covers from that band.
Yeah.
Arguably better than the
Intense.
originals, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Way better.
So there you have it, everybody. Our favorite albums, Prog albums, and fusion albums from 1975. In the comments below, please list your favorites, your top 5, your top 10, whatever you want to do. It's all up to you. Thanks for joining us. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up, we've got tomorrow, Stephen will be back. Stephen and Simon Bray will be joining me once again as we're going to rank the catalog of really good melodic metal act, Eden's Curse. So that's coming up tomorrow. We've also got some new product reviews for you tomorrow on the What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility Day. We've got Thursday, the Monsters Den, Friday morning at the Fun House with Martin Popoff and myself. And then on Sunday, we've got album homework assignment. And I think we get 2 guys on this show who are going to be doing future episodes of homework assignment. So Stephen and Simon and George and Rand will be doing over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for those. And we're going to get Anthony and Chuck involved in this soon too as well, guys. So get ready. Get ready.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. And for Chuck and Stephen and George and Anthony, I am Pete. We'll see you guys next week on In the Prog Seat. Thanks for watching, everybody. There, little RTF.
Nice shirt.
Little King Crimson.
Nice shirt, George.
Riverside. Love that
Nike.
shirt, George.
And a little Nike. Got to have some Nike on the Prog Seat, right?
Great band.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
See
Good
ya.
night, everyone.
See ya.